I hope I hit the right button. So hello everybody, I apologize that I'm unable to be, I told you last time that I'm this under, I don't know what is this exactly, well, because my doctor told me to stay home to be, and to take the COVID test first of all, and it turned that it's not COVID, but I'm still, with fever and headache, and just general tiredness. So please, I apologize for this, and I hope at least today it will work. I'm sure next week, as you know, we should be back to normal classes, still on Monday, I guess, we will still meet online. But today, let's have this class in asynchronous way, so that I will save this class on YouTube, and I will send you a link, so you will be able to follow this, and I will tell you also what to study. So please make sure that you have in front of you the documents I sent you, and that you will have on Moodle. Well, let's review first of all what I ask you to study at home. It's the punti grammaticali. What I sent you, it's about the passato prossimo the passato prossimo tense. I know passato prossimo, the usage of passato prossimo tense, it's one of the I would say troublemakers in the Italian grammar for the English speakers. Even though we do have the same tense, it's present perfect tense. I have done versus io ho fatto. But the point is, in English, the majority of verbs are very regular, except to be, been, I have had, given. The past participle, the formation of past participle in Italian is more complicated, more elaborated, if you wish. But the number of pronouns we are in use of past participle is very limited. So, but at a certain point, we have to memorize them. So what is the general rule? I told you, remember, it's ato, uto, ito, respectively. That's the ending we add. You replace the ending re from the infinitive. So cantare, cantato, that's the first conjugation. Prendere, so you replace ere with uto, non eto. Make sure that you remember this. And then dormire, dormito. That's the regular past participles in Italian. But there is a variety of irregular past participles. So now, what do we do? In English, when you form this present perfect tense, we always have the verb as the auxiliary verb. We use the verb avere. So I have done, I have been. In Italian, the biggest distinction is between, more or less, between the transitive verbs and the intransitive verbs. The transitive verbs, those that may require an object, like I eat, what do I eat? I play, what do I play? But versus I am, well, I am, it's just about me, the subject. There is no way talking about an object. So this is to eat, to drink. It's transitive verbs, like the verb like to be, to come, because it's about me. Become, it's about me. I mean the subject. So these are intransitive verbs. Right now, we talked about the transitive verbs, and the transitive verbs means they use the verb avere always, followed by the masculine form of the past participle. So let's say mangiare, io ho mangiato. Studiare, because you can, what do I study? Io ho studiato. because I told you last time also that these forms in ato, uto, ito, they function as regular adjectives, which means it could be also cantare, cantato, cantata, credere, creduto, creduta, dormire, dormito, dormita, and also the plural number, cantare, cantato, cantata, plural, cantati, cantate, like the regular adjectives that you already know, like brutto, brutta, brutti, brutte, bello, bella, belli, belle, okay? So, but in this case, when we talked about the transitive verbs, we use the verb avere plus the masculine singular form of the past participle. And on this worksheet I sent you with grammar, you have those punti grammaticali, il passato prossimo con avere. Please have this in front of you. And then we have the conjugation of some verbs in passato prossimo tense. So we conjugate the verb avere in present tense, followed by the past participle. We have the verb comprare, to buy. Io ho comprato, tu hai comprato, lui ha comprato, noi abbiamo comprato, voi abbiamo comprato, loro hanno comprato. Ricevere, to receive, io ho ricevuto, past participle is regular, tu hai ricevuto, and so on. Dormire, now you can argue with me. We have this verb dormire. Dormire is a transitive or intransitive. Now, how to explain? We consider the verb dormire as a transitive verb in terms that there is an object that we can imagine that because, you know, dormire, when we talk about sleeping, at least how I understand in Italian language, it's about how long have you slept? So the time, this period of time, 5 hours, 7 hours, it's like the object that you have in mind when you conjugate this verb. That's why in Italian we say io ho dormito. Io ho dormito, and then you may continue. Io ho dormito 5 ore. To be honest, I have slept in these days like never in my life. Io ho dormito 5 ore. So we consider the verb avere as transitive. To be, you know, the list of intransitive verbs, we will be talking about them soon. It's very limited. So the one that we use the most. So don't worry about this. Okay, so here you have on the first page, punti grammaticali, il passato prossimo con avere. I know that you studied this, so you know this. And then we have how to use this passato prossimo tense. Ho portato 2 valigie. Ho studiato la matematica. And then if you want to use the negative form, so you say io ho dormito, io non ho dormito. This non makes a huge difference. In English, we use the negative form after the verb avere, to have, so I have not slept well. In Italian, just easy. Always remember this form non, it always places the verb before the verb. Now this verb is composed of ho dormito, and before ho dormito it's non, which means that's the opposite of ho dormito. Ho dormito, non ho dormito. Oggi non ho, or let's say oggi ho dormito bene. Oggi non ho dormito bene. Ho dormito male. Okay, so that's how we use. But by now we skip what is now under number 4, the past participle of the passato prossimo conjugated with the auxiliary avere must agree in gender with a direct object. We will talk about this later when we get together, when we review also the direct object pronouns. And here you have a list of irregular past participles on the following page. Many verbs, especially those ending in ere, to be honest, yep, because those in are most of the time are regular. Even fare, that is listed here, because fare is from Latin facere, so it's a verb in ere. But the troublemakers are, so to speak, the verbs in ere. And here you have the list of some irregular verbs. But you may compare this list with the one that I will send you, that you will have under the topic 2, I guess, on Moodle, which will be which will be, the title would be, it will be named Participi Passati, and you will have a list of the most common irregular past participles and how they are used, how they are being used in Passato Prossimo tense. So you have, and please stop there, and please find this document called Participi Passati. Participi Passati, okay, I hope you have this. And participi, and now it's in Italian, so let's review this in Italian. Participi passati regolari finiscono, from the verb finire, you know, that's the verb that has the suffix sco, finiscono in ato, prima coniugazione, coniugazione numero 1, uto, la coniugazione numero 2, o ito, coniugazione numero 3. Per esempio, mangiare, mangiato, credere, creduto, partire, partito. And here we have a list of some irregular past participles, alcuni participi passati irregolari. Aprire o aperto, past participle is aperto. Accendere, accendere it's to turn on, for example, la luce, light, so it's accendere. Look at this, io accendo la luce. Past participle is acceso. So accendere, acceso. Bere, if you keep in mind that bere is from bevere, that's why we say io bevo, tu bevi, lui beve, noi beviamo, voi bevete, loro bevono. Well, so the past participle would be regular from this kind of original infinitive bevere, bevuto. So bere, bevuto. Chiedere, chiesto, it's on the list. Then we have chiudere, to close, chiuso, chiudere, chiuso. It's funny when we use the verb chiudere, we also use this close vowel u, chiudere, chiuso, just to indicate with our mouth the way we pronounce this verb, that we are talking about closing, even in English, but even, by the way, English to close, it's based on, because Italian chiuso is from Latin clausus, clauso, clauso, chiauso, chiuso. But in English, we keep almost the original form clausum, clausus, clauso, close. Through French, we have this. So even to close, it's from Latin through French, while aprire, open, open is a Germanic verb. Okay, that's chiudere. Then we have correre, to run. Correre, past participle, it's corso. And also, let me, oftentimes, you know what happens? That those past participle, like corso, since they function, in fact, they are regular adjectives. That's why the name is participles, because they participate both with verbs and nouns. And oftentimes, oftentimes those participle become regular nouns. For example, corso, past participle of correre, it's a noun, il corso. For example, il corso di lingua italiana, in English, the course. Il corso. Il corso. So in English would be also the course, but also like the running, like with this ing form. So correre o corso. Now you may argue, with me why correre we consider a transitive verb. You know, with dormire, we imagine this object in terms of time, like this kind of, but what is time? When we think about time, we imagine like a space, right? Somewhere. So 1 hour, 2 hours, it's a long period of time versus short. That's how we are. That's how we humans function. We need to use our imagination when we talk about abstract things as time. But here, well, when you run correre, you may say you have in mind the distance, like io ho corso una gara, or 5 chilometri. So io corso, che cosa? Una gara. Gara is a competition. Or io ho corso 5 chilometri, or let's say io ho corso 2 miglia. I ran, that's the distance I made when I was running, 2 miles, 5 chilometri, so, okay? So you speak, so you mean, so you see there is an object, so to speak, in this. There is an object, the distance, the space that, in which I have moved, correre, okay? Decidere, to decide. Decidere to decide. Obviously, it's in English, decide is from this. Decidere, deciso. Don't we have like decides? Decision is also based on this. It's all from Latin. Deciso. Io ho deciso. I made the decision. Ho deciso. It always comes to my mind, you know, if you like the etymology. Decidere, it's from ci. I apologize. I hope you're recording right now. Okay, you are talking about decidere or deciso. Decidere, you notice the idea. In decidere in Latin means to cut. So decidere, like we say in English, I will make it short, which means I've made my decision. So decidere, it's also related to incidere. Incidere, to make an incision. Circoncidere, it's about circumcision. It's all about this, okay? So decidere, make it short. You need to cut off something, right? So that's the idea of that is behind the act of making the decision, okay? Then we talked about dire. It's detto. Sometimes in English, don't we use this kind of dido? It's from Old Italian. In modern Italian, it's D-E-T-T-O. So it's dire, detto. Next verb, dividere, to divide, o diviso, diviso. Now, the next verb is essere. And essere, let's skip this, as we'll be talking about the verb, those verbs that will be using the verb essere in passato prossimo tense. Fare, fatto. Remember those fatto from Latin factum, fact in English. Let's skip giungere, but giungere it's to reach. You can use this. Yeah, there is a certain number of verbs that can be used can be used in both ways. Like giungere, to reach what? And that's the object. For example, io ho giunto la meta. La meta is the finish when you run, correre. So io ho giunto la meta, right? Ho giunto. Ho giunto la meta. Meta is the object. That's why it is past with passato prossimo with the verb avere. But it can be used also giungere, to reach. It is about my movement. In fact, majority of intransitive verbs indicate the state of being. I am, I become, or when we move without thinking about with the stress on the subject and not on the passible object. Leggere, to read, ho letto. Mettere, messo, ho messo. Muovere, to move, ho mosso. Let's keep nascere, to be born. Perdere, we talked about this. Perdere, it's ho perso, but you can add, we talked about this. You will still find ho perduto, especially if you read poems from like 19th century. Instead of ho perso, you may say ho perduto. If you want to be more pathetic, you will say this, okay? Ho perduto. It's funny. Why not? It's correct. Perduto, kind of correct. It's regular, right? Perdere, ho perso, ho perduto. Piangere, to cry. Ho pianto. Piangere, it's from Latin complain. In English, we have complain from this. When you complain, you're supposed to cry with tears. Prendere, ho preso, preso. Prendere, preso, non prenduto, okay? Prendere, preso. When do we have this? Prendere, it's from Latin prehendere. Comprehend in English would be also this. Okay, then we have produrre. Produrre, it's an irregular verb in its conjugation, but to produce, o prodotto, think about this. We'll be talking about this verb later on. Ridere, to laugh, ho riso. Sorridere, with sor, it's smile. So ho sorriso, ho sorriso. And then il sorriso, it's the smile. Sorridere, il sorriso. Okay, then we have ridurre. Ridurre, it's like produrre. So reduce, produce, conduct. It's also from this family in English. Later on, we'll talk about this. But so ridurre, ridotto. So what changes is this preverb. Prodotto, ridotto. Rimanere, it's one of the intransitive verbs. I remained. So rimasto, it's rispondere. We talked about this. It's not risponduto, it's risposto. Scegliere, it's also an irregular verb, to choose. Ho scelto. Ho scelto. And the choice in Italian is la. And the choice is la scelta. La scelta. Now, next verb is scendere, to come down, to descend in English, right? Come down. Also, you may say past participle, it's sceso. If it's all about you going down, sono sceso, with the verb essere. If it's all about even though I will argue on this, but it's used also. If you think about like the stairs, sono sceso ho sceso le scale. So it will be used as intransitive verb. Okay, scomparire, to disappear. Scomparire, it's the opposite of comparire. Comparire, and past participle, it's comparso. Comparire, it's to appear. Scomparire, to disappear. So sono scomparso with essere, we'll be talking about this later. Scoprire, look at this. Scoprire is oftentimes in Italian language, we use this S to indicate the opposite. Coprire, cover. Coperto, it's the past participle. Io ho coperto il tavolo con la tovaglia. Tovaglia is the tablecloth. So io ho coperto il tavolo con la tovaglia. Cristoforo Colombo ha scoperto l'America. Discover. You see, the discover is the longer version of Italian scoprire. We talked about scrivere, ho scritto. Spegnere is the opposite of accendere, so ho spento. Ho spento, ho acceso. Spendere, to spend. And speso, spesa. La spesa, it's basically the shopping. When you shop, the la spesa, it's when you, the act of buying. La spesa. Yeah, but let's keep succedere, to happen, that is used also in the second person singular, as succede, it happens. Togliere, togliere is to take away. Past participle, tolto, ho tolto. What did I take away? Ho tolto la bottiglia. Trarre, it's another irregular verb, to draw. Trarre, tratto, io ho tratto. Well, uccidere, why do we have uccidere here? To kill. Ho ucciso. Vedere, yeah, we talked about this. Normally we say ho visto, but if you want to be a little bit kind of oldish, you would say ho veduto. Ho veduto. Venire, it's one of those that will be using the verb essere. Vivere, to live. Well, and you may say, the verb to live, it's about me, the subject, right? But what about me living my life, right? So my life, the time I live on earth is the object, so to speak. So ho vissuto. Past participle is vissuto. And finally, vincere, to win. Ho vinto. You may know I like the movie Gladiator, and there is an initial battle scene when the Romans were fighting against the Teutonic German tribes, and after the battle, the general said, he said in Italian, not in Latin. That's funny. Roma ha vinto. Rome has won. Roma ha vinto. Roma ha vinto. And those of you who watched with me the movie Life is Beautiful, we, at the end of this movie, when this little boy met with his mom, he said, abbiamo vinto, abbiamo vinto. The war is over. We have won, okay? Okay, I'm not saying that you have to memorize, but these are the verbs that we use a lot. But focus on those that you have on those pages. Let's go back to this document called when you have those grammar pages. punti grammaticali. Okay, and here we have, the number 5, it's the list of irregular past participles. And then there is an exercise. Completate le frasi con la forma corretta. Corretto, it's from the verb correggere. Correggere, to correct. Io correggo, tu correggi, present tense. Io ho corretto. Correggere, corretto. Poco tempo fa, no, not so long ago, io prenotare. Prenotare is to make a reservation. So io ho, prenotare is regular, right? So ho prenotato. Ho prenotato un viaggio per le Cinque Terre. Ho prenotato il viaggio per le Cinque Terre. Numero 2, la mia amica Giulia, chiedere. Chiedere is one of those irregular, right? Chiedere, chiesto. So, la mia amica Giulia ha chiesto. La mia amica Giulia ha chiesto di venire, to come, con me, with me. Right? Ok, andiamo al numero, let's go to number 3. Io e Giulia, which means us. Nuovi costumi da bagno. Bathing suit. So, nuovi costumi da bagno. Comprare, obviously. So, it's about us. Just keep in mind the conjugation of the verb avere. So, abbiamo, and then comprato. Comprare, comprato. So, abbiamo comprato. Abbiamo comprato. Numero 3, number 3. Io e Giulia abbiamo comprato nuovi costumi da bagno prima di partire, before we left. Number 4. Giulia e sua cugina, un albergo di 3 stelle. And then the verb cercare, to look for, right? Obviously, they are looking for albergo di 3 stelle, like 3-star hotel. So Giulia e sua cugina, it's about them, hanno cercato, right? It's so easy. Hanno cercato un albergo di 3 stelle. That's number 4. Number 5, numero 5. Una settimana prima della partenza, before they left, a week before they left, io telefonare. So io ho telefonato, right? Io ho telefonato a Giulia. Io ho telefonato a Giulia per chiedere, to ask, se, if, l'hanno trovato. And look at this. We'll be talking about this next time, but in se, if, and it was lo, which means him, which means the hotel, albergo, se lo hanno trovato. And this lo before hanno drops o, and we have, that's why we have the apostrophe, and we read this, lo ha trovato. So una settimana prima, before della partenza, la partenza is the departure, io ho telefonato, I have called, a Giulia, I have telephoned, it would be like in English probably to give the idea, I made a phone call to Giulia, a Giulia, per chiedere, to ask, se l'hanno trovato. Number 6, ho chiesto, I asked Giulia l'albergo, trovare, Giulia, I'm talking to Giulia. So did you, have you would be right. So I, then trovare. Giulia, ho chiesto, Giulia, hai trovato l'albergo? Hai trovato l'albergo? Lei mi, and then here we have lei, me, which means to me, right? And then rispondere. So remember, it's past participle of rispondere is risposto. So she, lei, ha, lei ha risposto. Sì, io e mia cugina, now it's fare, una prenotazione, with fare, obviously, with avere, the verb avere as always, but it's us, right? So abbiamo, and what is the past participle of fare? It's irregular, fatto. Abbiamo fatto una prenotazione per 4 notti. Va bene? Is it okay? Lei mi ha risposto, sì, io e mia cugina abbiamo fatto una prenotazione per 4 notti. Va bene? And then number, it's not the whole thing. Okay, so let's conclude here, number 7. Now let's move on a little bit and let's talk about the second part. So when we use the past participle with the verb essere, and I will send you also the list of the verbs that we use with the verb essere. Once again, transitive verbs, avere, but also dormire, avere, correre, avere, right? But now intransitive verbs. So basically, the most intransitive verbs are essere, to be, essere, but also stare. Essere, stare is like the synonym of essere, right? You know the conjugation. Io sono, tu sei, lui è, noi siamo, voi siete, loro sono, io sto, tu stai, lui sta, noi stiamo, voi state, loro stanno. So this verb will be used with essere in passato prossimo tense. Okay, but also verbs that indicate the state of being, like to become, right? Diventare, diventare means to become. Diventare. To become. You know, there is another form of diventare which means divenire. It's the same, to become. Diventare, divenire. Diventare, divenire. Obviously, diventare, it's easy. Past participle will be diventato. Divenire, it's di plus venire. So the second part, the past participle will be based on the verb venire. And if you remember the verb venire from the other worksheet, venire, the past participle, it's not venito, but venuto. It's irregular. We'll be talking about. What would be another way, state of being? Well, when I come to this world, which means to be born, nascere. I become alive, right? Nascere will be also used with essere, and then morire. Morire means to die. So this is the first group of the verbs, of intransitive verbs that in passato prossimo tense will be conjugated with the auxiliary verb essere. With the auxiliary verb essere. Okay, I hope you are following me. Okay, there's another group that indicate, that we translate as remain. Which means I stay here. I do not move. It's about me. The first one is restare. It's not to rest. It means to remain. But also we have remain, which is rimanere. Rimanere. Remain, to stay. Okay, so that's the second group, if you wish. And then there is a third one, which indicates the verbs of movement, but the verbs of movement where the focus is not on the space that you have walked through, but on the subject who has just moved from one place to another. Okay, so okay, if I moved from above, that would be the verb cadere, to fall. Cadere, to fall. Cadere, to fall. Well, cadere, to fall, going up, would be salire. Salire. Cadere is to fall. Sometimes it's not nice, but in order to say just I'm going down, I am coming down, that would be scendere. You will have all this list in this worksheet that I'm going to send you. So cadere, scendere. Okay, what else do we? Okay, let's say that I'm about to enter the house. So it's entrare. Entrare. The opposite is uscire. Uscire. So this kind of verbs of movement, but not all of them, because we have also, look at this, to arrive. Arrivare. Will be used with essere. Arrivare. When you come back, it's tornare or ritornare. Tornare, ritornare. And also, yeah, if I arrived, because I went. So andare, to go. Andare. And then if I go, I can also come, which is venire. Venire, to come, right? So here we have the list, of those intransitive verbs that are always used with the verb essere in the passato prossimo tense. Now, I'm just tell you the what are the irregular past participles. Look at this. Essere and stare share the same past participle taken. So it's from stare, stato. So it's the regular past participle of stare, but it's also being used by the verb essere. So io sono, because now you conjugate the verb stare, io sono stato. You never use stare, io sto stato. That would be correct. So it's just used by the verb essere. Diventare, it's regular. Sono diventato, I have become. Before we talked about divenire, because divenire is a composed verb of venire, to come, and it's irregular. The past participle is it's not venito, but venuto. Mark it down, okay? Venuto. So, sono venuto. Let's go back to this. Divenuto. Sono divenuto. What's the next one? Very important. Nascere. Past participle is nato. Sono nato. Morire. Nascere is the regular verb in the present tense, but morire, it's irregular. But in passato prossimo, I died. You will never conjugate this verb in first person. Its past participle is morto. Morto. So let's review. Basically, the verb stare, it's not used in passato prossimo tense, but we use the verb essere with the past participle based on stare. So io sono stato, divenire regolare, no, diventare, sono diventato, divenire irregolare, sono divenuto, nascere, sono nato, morire, sono morto. The same verb restare, it's regular, but rimanere, it's irregular, rimasto. We use mostly rimanere, sono rimasto, sono restato. No, it's much better to say sono rimasto. We use mostly this, sono rimasto. And here the verb of movement, arrivare, regular, sono arrivato, tornare, regular, sono tornato, andare, which is irregular verb, right? Maybe we should review those irregular verbs that you should know. Andare, sono andato, and venire, that's the only one that has the past participle irregular, venuto, venire, venuto. Cadere, to fall, sono caduto, regular. Salire, to go up, sono salito, third conjugation, regular. Then we have scendere, it's irregular. Sceso, sono sceso. Entrare, sono entrato. Even in a, you may argue with me, but sono entrato, there is an object. I've entered into a house, but the focus is on the subject who is performing this action of entering. or going out. So sono entrato, regular, and sono uscito, also the past participle is regular, even though the verb itself is irregular in the present tense, right? Entrare, uscire. So here we talked about those verbs, intransitive verbs, that are being used in passato prossimo with the verb essere. Now the point is, that these verbs will be used with essere. Now, so let's use the verb nascere. Io sono nato. Look at this. It's exactly when I say io sono bravo, un ragazzo. But a girl would say io sono brava. And that's the point. When you use the verbs in passato prossimo tense with the auxiliary verb essere, you need to adjust the past participle ending. So this has to agree with the subject in terms of number, gender, maschile, femminile, and in terms of number. So io sono nato. Maria è nata. This is just when you would be using the regular adjective. Maria è nata. I ragazzi sono nati. Io sono nato. A girl would say, io sono nata. Maria è nata. Pietro è nato. Voi siete nati. I ragazzi sono nati. Le ragazze sono nate. Le ragazze sono nate. That's the whole philosophy about the passato prossimo tense. But as I told you, you need to practice this because we normally in English, we don't always use this. In Italian, we use this tense a lot. Every time you want to say to describe something that took place recently, and that somehow the results of this past action are being felt by the subject, you will be using this tense. Because in Italian language, let me give me a break. So we have this tense, then we have a tense called imperfetto. Imperfetto indicates this kind of action, that I was doing certain things in the past. I was going. If you want to say I was going, you would say imperfetto. But if you want to say that I arrived, so sono andato, sono arrivato, versus I was going, andavo. And also in Italian, they have a punctual action that it's called, now the one that we are using here, it's passato prossimo. This one, it's passato remoto. This tense describes something that took place years ago. There is no connection whatsoever with this present time. So you may say, io sono nato, if you talk about yourself, because it wasn't so long time ago, and then it's you, the same subject. But if you talked about, let's say, Garibaldi, you don't say Garibaldi è nato. You may, it's correct. But I would suggest to use the passato remoto tense, which means Garibaldi nacque. You'll not be learning this tense right now because it'll be too much for you guys. So that's the difference. And that's how we use this passato prossimo tense. So please sure that you, when you watch this, that you have in front of you the material I send you. I'm going to send you. I will send you also a document called Grammatica. This is all in Italian. Basically, what I have said in English now will be in Italian. Let's see. Please open this and have this in front of you. And that will be the last part for today. Then I will tell you what kind of homework you need to do and you'll be fine. So, did you open this? So, grammatica. Il tempo passato prossimo. I put 12. Il tempo passato prossimo indicates un'azione trascorsa da poco, recent action. Un'azione trascorsa da tanto tempo con effetti anche nel presente. So, which is a remote action with effects in this present time. So, like, I was born, right? It could be like 50 years ago. My gosh, it's a long time. But I still feel the results of this action. The effects are present because I'm alive, if it's about me, right? So it also indicates un'esperienza di vita, life experience. So we use this tense when you feel like, oh, this is about, it's close to me. It's part of my life. It's part of my experience. And then un'azione passata in un periodo di tempo non ancora trascorso del tutto, which means action still in action. Oh, that's how I translated this. That it's still ongoing business. Okay? So it could be the beginning, like years ago, long time ago, but it's still ongoing. And then we have come formiamo il passato prossimo. So, per formare il passato prossimo we use il presente indicativo, the present indicative tense, dei verbi essere or avere, più, plus, il participio passato del verbo in questione, the verb that we are conjugating. And as I told you once again, with the avere transitive verbs, the list you have, and with essere, you know, those verbs that you also have in one of the documents that we talked about today. Basically, that's the number of verbs that we use mostly, okay? Esempi, let's read those examples. Dopo pranzo, Marco ha letto il giornale. After dinner, he read the newspaper, right? So it's, let's say that we use this expression like in the afternoon, and dopo pranzo, it's today. Quest'anno, this year, siamo andati in vacanza a Barcellona. Quest'anno, which means this year. It's not many years ago. It's this year. This year it's still in action, so to speak. Hai studiato all'estero. I'm talking about your life experience. Did you study abroad? Sono stata a Parigi 2 anni fa. You know, she's telling me, oh my gosh, I've been to Paris 2 years ago. And that's part of her life. Oggi Luigi e Simon hanno fatto la spesa. Oggi, it's still today. So that's hanno fatto la spesa, they did the grocery today. Not yet finished. Sono uscita da scuola mezz'ora fa. Mezz'ora fa means like 30 minutes ago. It's recent action. So sono uscita, non. Sono sposato da 14 anni. Yeah. Sono da 14 anni, so I've been married for 14 years. And, but you know, I'm still married. That's the point of the sentence. Sono sposato da 14 anni and I'm still happily married. So that's why sono sposato and non passato remoto tense, okay? And there is a nota. Per la maggior parte dei verbi si usa l'ausiliare avere. Most of the time we use the verb avere. Per molti verbi di movimento, movement verbs, usiamo l'ausiliare essere. And movement verbs are cadere, salire, scendere, entrare, uscire, arrivare, ritornare, andare, venire. We use a lot of these verbs, right? So verbs of movement. And then you have, on the second page, you have graphic that represents the conjugation. We have the verb mangiare and credere. Io ho mangiato, and then partire also, that we don't have. And the verb, we have just the verb mangiare e credere. Well, it's the same that you have in the other worksheet. Okay, so please follow this. Yeah, when we use the verb essere with intransitive verbs, those that we talked about today, please keep in mind that you have to adjust the ending of the past participle to terms of gender and number. Verb essere in the passato prossimo tense would be sono stato. Io sono stato, a boy. Io sono stata would say a girl, right? Io sono stato, io sono stata, noi siamo stati. So this past participle acts like a regular adjective. Okay. And then obviously, the correct form of the in passato prossimo, the verb essere will be using the verb essere. So io sono stato, tu sei stato, lui è stato. And the verb avere will be using the verb avere. So io ho avuto, past participle of avere is regular. Tu hai avuto, lui ha avuto, noi abbiamo avuto, voi avete avuto, loro hanno avuto. It's always the same. And and then the next 2 pages in this document, I hope it's not too much for you guys. The next 2 pages, it's in a kind of exercises in which you have to select the correct form. So select the correct form. Dove sei nato? And then you have to say, if you're a girl, sono nata, non sono nati, sono nato or sono nata. And all of them. It should be easy for you. That will be your homework also, along with the one I sent you last time. That we did sometimes some of them together, right? Okay, so please finish this document called Participi Passati. No, the one that we did right now, which is called Passato Prossimo Grammatica, right? So read this, study also the pages that I sent you, grammar pages. You will have grammar pages in Italian and grammar pages in English and in Italian. So, and then along with this document called Grammatica in Italian, you will have those exercises, esercizi, when you select the correct form. And also I would ask you, do as much as you can. The homework, it's called HW Passato Prossimo, that I sent you last time, and we did a few sentences together. Do as much as you can. We will review this also together. But at this point, you should be able to work on this. Okay, guys, so I hope this is going to work today for you. I need to rest still. And I'm for sure I will be next week, we'll be back to normal. And on Tuesday, I guess, we should be back to classroom. So, but which means on Monday, it's still, we will have the class online at the regular time. And I hope it will work in terms of that everybody will have the access to this class. And then on Wednesday, well, I will see you in the classroom as I indicated as it is indicated in our syllabus, unless some changes are done, but probably not. Okay, guys. Thank you for your attention, and thanks for your patience, for your attention, and please do your best in terms of studying, because we can work as much as we can together. I can explain, but the hard work has to be in your brain. You have to, when you learn languages, you have to, what the cows do? They eat, but they do not swallow this all the time. They have to ruminate. They have to chew this. They have to spend time, and that's what you need to sit down. You need to this kind of learning process has to go through your own brain. So eventually, it will be yours. Whatever you have learned, it will be yours. Hopefully forever. But it may happen also that because we do forget things, that's the problem of us adults. So please do your best. And when we get together, we'll have more chances to practice this. And please be sure of this, that my personal goal of this class, of all the classes, is not that that you just remember, oh my gosh, we had to work a lot. The goal is that you learn, that you will be able to speak, that you will see that you have progress in the knowledge of Italian language, that you also enjoy this. For example, I love etymology, and languages help me, the languages I've studied help me understand my own language. And remember, those who study languages do not have problems with memory when they grow old. Because when you study languages, it's not only that you memorize, but your whole brain, everything is working. Oh my gosh, it's such a powerful tool to be young forever. Okay. Thank you once again, guys. I hope it will work, and we'll see you soon.